This is Hasselblad's workhorse digital medium format camera disguised in this minimalist chunk of metal. This is dedicated for the working artists out there. This is proof that Hasselblad still makes them like they used to. This is the X2D. Let's talk about it. Shout out to Hasselblad for giving me the X2D in exchange for this video, but don't get it twisted. I beg the absolute crap out of them for this thing because I love it. I think people are underestimating the form factor and function of this medium format camera. I usually wouldn't be comfortable to hang a freaking camera off my hip on the motorcycle. Unibody, full-on metal camera here, super compact for it being medium format, super robust, super strong. This is really highly underrated, purely just off build quality alone. Before we get into all the nerdy details on this camera, I really want to share what's so inspiring about this whole system and how the technology just makes my job a little bit easier and kind of what its purpose is behind just this beautiful design. All right, guys, again, when we go over the tech specs, you'll find out why the features on here and the minimalistic, everything's minimalistic about this. It really connects with the photographer. The biggest thing for me is the viewfinder. I see a lot of the new cats shooting like this now. I love a viewfinder personally, especially for fashion shoots, when you shoot out in the desert, whatever it is, it's amazing. So when it comes time to have a workhorse, that's where this comes up. When it comes time for me to be inspired and to get off my butt and to have some motivation, that's when the 907X comes in. But now, let's get to business. Is that what they say? Let's get into business. Let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Okay, that's all staying in. I wanted to get a shot of this tree over here, but our light got real funky. Hasselblad also sent out their 25V. This is a 25mm lens. In full frame terms, it's around a 20mm, I believe. So you guys know I love my Fujifilm TX1. We'll take out here in a second. The 45mm lens on the Hasselblad is like a 22mm equivalent, I believe, on the width. Previously, I was using the Typoc 28mm and adapting to it. Most of the vignetting on that lens went away at f4. On this, though, now I have a 25mm, so I'm getting that immersive Xpan feel with this setup now. Like, this is even more of an Xpan experience than it was on the 907X, purely because I now have a viewfinder, so I could, frame up. Because again, a lot of times I'm outdoors like this. Yeah, when it comes to this lens, even wide open, it is incredibly sharp. I've been rocking the Polar Pro short stash filter on here. This is a polarizer and it has a very, very, very subtle diffusion on it, which kind of just softens up how crazy sharp these lenses can get. If we want to go into manual focus, I'm going to click up right here and we have hard stops. So if you want to do manual focus, it's incredibly easy to use. What's interesting is you can declick the aperture ring so it's smooth. And I'm pretty sure this is a digital aperture ring too, which is interesting. And then I could turn the click on and then we have the click. Let me show you guys this. So this is smooth. And then this is clicked. I have no idea what the weather sealing is on this camera, but I've used this thing in hail and snow and dust and dirt. I've used all over the place and it doesn't look like it's been thrashed on. I do let this just hang off my hip. Again, it's a unibody piece of metal. It's a tank. I'm the type of person that I really appreciate design. Why is that? I've been shooting since I was 18. I'm gonna be 35 this year. So after shooting for that long, guys, I really do appreciate, well-designed, well-built, robust, beautiful gear. It's just the point of my career I'm in, I guess. But you can even see like the little patch on here. This lens is all metal. There's even a Hasselblad H logos all on the gears right there. Again, I genuinely appreciate beautiful design. All right, guys, Sedona's never, she's dying to get there. We don't have a whole lot of buttons on this thing. We have 2 buttons up here, does ISO and white balance. We have an M button on here. I believe most of these buttons are able to be customized as well. Don't take my word for that. You see we have 2 buttons right here too. I have this button set as my back button. I'm a back button focusing guy again. I got started with film cameras and DSLR, so that's the way I like to shoot. And then you can see we have just 4 buttons around the screen here. This just takes you in the menu. You can see how beautiful and simple this menu is. Also, my screen's not cracked. I have a screen protector and I cracked it within the first 24 hours. Again, I like to use my stuff. We also have a screen on top. Our screen does come out as well, only on that axis. I do kind of wish they let it come out on the vertical axis. So, when I'm doing the fashion stuff and we're trying to get low down with like this 25 millimeter lens. It'd be cool to have that. We also have a button right here. I have this set to my drive mode. So if I want to do a single shot, continuous shot, or timer, I just scrub through it right here. And then this rear dial, this is how I check for focus, but also you can use that as a button. So say if I go into my white balance, I could click here, and then I can start changing my white balance and my tint from there. So you guys can see, if you're a photographer and you don't want to mess with all the video BS that's coming with cameras now and how congested it makes menus, you will love the experience on this. I feel this is where like the film camera design language comes in, because again, all these modern cameras, there's so much to them. And then you pick up something like this and you're like, holy cow, I can just focus on being a photographer. I don't have to focus what button does that and custom button this, and I got to change this mode to this mode. It's purely just a true photographer experience with this system here. So the M button up here, you could assign this to whatever. I have it assigned to my shutter mode. So if I'm using one of Hasselblad's native lenses, I keep it in mechanical shutter, obviously. But if I'm adapting a lens, there is no actual mechanical shutter because the shutter is in the lens. They're leaf shutters. This is great for fashion work and flash photography. But if you adapt lenses, there's no shutter on it. So you have to go to electronic shutter mode. And that's where I have my button up there, the M button set for. So if I'm adapting and I have to go through the menus, I can just do that. Speaking of the menus are incredibly easy to navigate. Again, there's no fluff on this at all. If you need to change a setting, there's not much that you can mess up on this. Now that we went over design, let's talk about the actual art of photography with this camera. Let's start with the photo shoot, and then we'll get into the Xpan. This lens combos everything I need for fashion shoots, except the 90 millimeter, I think it is. We are using Polar Pro's new 135 series gold mist because it doesn't flare the lens out too much, but it just softens it just a hair bit. Guys, when it comes to fashion photography, the Hasselblad X2D is freaking amazing to use. I do wish we had continuous autofocus, but at the same time, we do have face detection and it does land on the eye for the most part. I haven't really had any issues with it myself. But when it comes to all this fashion stuff, the autofocus, face detection, it works amazingly. Oh, this is great. Oh, yeah. Oh, let me show you that.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. I think the biggest upside to using this camera for fashion shoots is the files, the way you can stretch the files in post. Keep some movements in there, show some of the white in the pants. When you go and retouch it, you know, you have so much details to mess with. Everything from the dynamic range to color fidelity, everything. You create all the windows you want and you have all the information you need to do whatever kind of edit you want to make.
Sick. Yeah, I love these.
Also, real quick about the lenses, the 25 millimeter is really fun to shoot with. It's super wide, but it doesn't have crazy distortion. That's kind of an upside to shooting wider angle on medium format. Since we're wide, feel free to like get like in camera and stuff like that. I'll do that again. Love that. And let me change my drive mode. But also the 55V, the 55 millimeter from Hasselblad is stunning for portraits. I absolutely love it. It is on the clinical side, but there's still a lot of character to the bokeh that you're gonna get on the edge, which personally I love, especially if you're coming from, you know, film medium format. Those lenses were not perfect. They had some charm to it. So we're kind of getting a similar look on these lenses here, but way more sharpness. Going to try an Xpan shot for a fashion shoot, which usually don't do.
Cool, that looks great.
It's Xpan. Cinematic, right?
Wait, do we want to do that one more time?
All right, guys, let's talk Xpan. Again, you guys know I love Xpan photography. I don't know what it is. It inspires me. There's something immersive about it. I feel like my peripheral vision, I'm very self-aware of it. If that might sound weird, but to me, our world looks like Xpan. And so that's why I absolutely love shooting with this camera here. This is the Fujifilm TX1. Fujifilm and Hasselblad work together to make this film camera. So Hasselblad has their own version, but it's essentially the same exact camera. This thing has given me so much motivation as a photographer outside of fashion work, because that's what I, started doing. That's what I was making my bread and butter with before YouTube. And so the experience of this camera reawoke in my inner photographer, and then printing just took it another step. And so I have a lot of motivation thanks to Xpan photography. One of the special things about about this camera, besides it being just beautifully made, really well built, is the viewfinder experience. Having the Xpan markers in there, it's just, it makes you see the world totally differently. Well, now the Hasselblad X2D, I'll show you guys right here. So I'm just gonna go to my menu, double click, crop modes, and you can see Xpan. It even says Xpan. How beautiful is that? Let me show you the other crops though. We have 1x1, 7x6, 5x4. We have 3x2, 6x9. We have 3x2 crop, which this is a full frame crop. So if you wanted to, you could adapt full frame lenses to this. 16x9, we do sometimes use this camera for thumbnails for YouTube. The sensor size on this isn't a true 65mm width like it is on this camera here, but with this lens combo on here, you still get that similar experience. And more importantly, the viewfinder, looking through this viewfinder and seeing the Xpan crop, when I look through this, my world changes. My world goes into Xpan mode. And then when I go into here and the Xpan crop is on, it's literally the same exact experience. It's beautiful. The difference is I have my spirit levels on here. I can see my exposure, you know, it's the digital experience, but with almost a filmic physical experience. This camera for Xpan work, this is going to be my new go-to now. So a lot of the times I will take trips just to do Xpan photography with this camera. And since I'm starting to do prints now, there are times where I want to shoot them digitally. Again, I'll put a link in the description to where you could check out my prints. Some of the shots were shot on the Hasselblad 907X, which is beautiful. But I think this is going to be the camera that goes in my kit for those trips now, purely because of the viewfinder and the experience that I get. It's almost a one-to-one now. The only thing that could possibly get it closer is having an optical viewfinder with a dedicated sensor for Xpan. Like, that's a lot. I don't know if we'll ever get that. So I think this is the best option that we're ever going to have, honestly. Also, if you guys are wondering what bag this is the Nomadic Peter McKinnon. I have no idea what it's called. But I've been actually using this bag a lot. One, you guys know I'm a sucker for cool looking things. I love like the silverly cream straps and then the orange colorway on this. But a lot of the times I will use this bag as like my separate photo kit for when I'm on trips. Obviously, I have a lot of filmmaking gear and anamorphics and stuff, so usually that fills out all my camera bags. And then for this, I usually either have one of my Hasselblads in here, the couple of lenses, maybe a film camera tucked into there, the Xpan. So you can see how deep it goes into there. The 907X is hidden deep into there. I've been doing like these series of shots shooting through the windshield. I sadly just cleaned it. It would have been sick if I kept the mud on there. But this setup here, the 25mm lens with this, it's just a really, again, fun experience. And that's kind of what Hasselblad cameras come down to for me. Also, you guys can hear the leaf shutter in there. Listen to this. That's a leaf shutter, guys. I freaking love that clunk clunk. But maybe I'll do a print series and it's called Shotgun. That might be cool. If anyone steals that, you owe me. Okay, honestly, I like the shot enough to where I'm gonna back up and do it outside of the Bronco. We are front. Was that, did I just see a coyote in the rear view? I did. That was like cool to get on camera to scare it away though. Freaking. You guys, this short stash filter paired with the Hasselblad system, really, the glass is so sharp, like it's so precise. So the short stash filter and the polarizer is what really brings to life a lot of the saturation and the ambient tonality to a shot like this. But the subtle softness on these lenses are just like, it's butter, it's perfect on this system here. These are huge Joshua trees. These things have to be ancient. That is so cool. Let's just see what we can do here. I've never seen Joshua trees this big. This is crazy. So again, I'm just gonna hit this button twice. It goes into the white balance mode. I'm going to here, I'm gonna warm it up. I'm gonna push the tint. Basically what I'm doing is I'm setting the custom tone, so where I start to edit it, I kind of have a accurate, you know, setup. And then I'm gonna use my short stash filter right here. I am shooting Xpan mode. Kind of the only time I don't use Xpan mode on this camera is when I'm shooting, you know, actual photo shoots and fashion work. We missed the good light part about like 10 minutes. Our sky's not that pretty. I mean, it's a beautiful color, but there are a lot of clouds up there too, and they're not like beautiful shaped type clouds. But yeah, this is what's so fun about this experience here. Again, to me, this isn't a heavy camera. Put it into Xpan mode with this 25mm lens, you know, stack the short stash filter on there. This is probably one of the best Xpan experiences I've had outside of the Hasselblad 907X camera. The sunset looks gorgeous, but on camera, I already know that's not gonna look great. Guess that's it for the Xpan stuff. So guys, a lot of these shots, I'm shooting wide open. I'm very confident with these lenses wide open. They are still tack sharp. Just wish we had just those last little bits of streak of light down over here. That would have been insane. I am getting to a point in life to where there's beautiful moments like this. I'm starting to put my camera down a little bit more, enjoying it. Like I might get a shot or two just for memories, but I'm learning to enjoy things. I'm slowing down a little bit. This dog's getting a little bit old. Do you guys hear those coyotes? I don't believe it. We'll have to look at the files. Yeah. You guys, there's a coyote right in front of us. Okay, let's try it. Hang on. I'm gonna try to get closer. Oh, no. Those are the times where 100 megapixels really, like, yeah, we're gonna be able to crop into that. So you guys saw me take that right now, okay? No. So that shot was me, okay? No. Okay. If I sell that, Jericho's getting zero the cut. No. Jericho did it on purpose. He's like, I see a coyote, I'm gonna ask Ken if I could try, and then I'm gonna wait for the cut. Yeah, see? If that was me, I would have tried to get closer. I would have got one safety shot, and then I would have got a little bit closer. Oh, I'm so jealous you got that. I know, I'm so jealous. I'm honestly so jealous. What I love about photography is it takes you to places like this, and having, again, just cameras that kind of inspire you and motivate you, from, you know, the design language to the image quality. When moments like that happens, I'm grateful to have any camera with me, but it's extra special when it's a unique camera. So you guys saw I took that shot, Jericho didn't take that shot. So anyways, tech specs. In conversation, I can remember all these numbers, but I think some of you guys would be shocked to know I'm not like a super giant gearhead. I know I come off like one. I do love gear. I'm not the type to be able to remember all these tech specs. I just like using the cameras and seeing what they'll do for me as a tool. Anyways, we have 100 megapixels as we went over. This is one of the best sensors that exists out there for me in format digital. It does 16 and 14-bit color. The 16-bit colors really is what's getting us like the super real type of color fidelity. Like, you know, the type of colors we see in life, the separation between like skin tones and yellows and greens and blues, all of that. That's thanks to the 16-bit color. We also have a 1 terabyte internal hard drive. This should be a standard for any camera that's over, I don't know, $4,000 or $5,000. It should have freaking internal storage. So many times I forgot to put a card into this to the point where I just stopped putting a card into it. But if you're curious, it does take CF Express B. And you can see how good even just the little doors for the ports are on this. We also have a 3.6-inch screen. This is another thing that should be a freaking standard by now. So let's go on a quick rant real quick and then we'll get back into the tech specs. The elephant in the room is camera technology is plateauing when it comes to photography. From there, we have 5-axis Ibis. That's sensor image, what is it called? I've been able to shoot at like 1/10 on this thing, even adapting lenses to it. The Ibis on here is shockingly good. All right, guys, it's getting cold. I was gonna put my jacket on, but we don't have time because the light is just smacking right now. I'm gonna show off how good the Ibis is. We're still on the 25V. I'm gonna put my ISO down to 64. And you see at 1/25th, the exposure's really dark. Let's go to a 60th of a second. You can see I'm not even trying to do anything crazy. So I'm gonna go down to, let's try a 30th of a second, sharp. We're at a 1/4 of a second. I'm now at f8, ISO 64. There's no way. That was a long shot. It's still sharp, guys. All right, let's go down another. We're at 0.5 of a second, 0.5. There's absolutely no way that's gonna be sharp. I feel like every time I take it too, I feel like I'm moving. Yo. What the hell? You guys, there's no IS in this lens. This is all the sensor. We're now at 1 second. I'm gonna be blown away if this holds at 1 second. Okay. Oh, I moved so much on that. I had a shiver go. It's still sharp. From there, we have face detection autofocus. This is where one of the quirks starts coming in with this camera. It doesn't have continuous autofocus. It has only single point. So it does do face detection. And in my experience, again, I'm usually shooting out in the desert. I'm usually outside. So most cameras, autofocus works, you know, just fine. But the face detection works great on here. There's no eye detection. But when I go and look at the files, the eye is always the point that's sharp. So I'm assuming, you know, it's probably, you know, calculated for the eye, who knows. Hasselblad, I would love if you guys did a firmware where it did open up continuous, because there are times where we kind of need that. From there, the last final thing we got to talk about when it comes to tech specs, which I think is the most important for me personally, the viewfinder. I believe this is the 1:1 magnification. It's like look guys, this is why I gotta look at my notes. It's a 5.76 million dot viewfinder, pixels. I don't know. As when I put my eye up to this, my eye gets immersed into that viewfinder. I can see everything. Even if I'm wearing my prescription glasses or actually I'm wearing my contacts today, the eye just really fills it out. It really fills in the eye and it really blocks out the light. That's the most important thing for me. Again, I'm shooting in the desert a lot. And a lot of the times with other cameras, I'm having to like try to block the sun from getting into my eye in the viewfinder. This viewfinder is so freaking huge that it allows your eyeball just to freaking just get into there. That was gross. The elephant in the room is camera technology is plateauing when it comes to photography. Like what else are they gonna do? Like they do everything that we need them to do when it comes to photography. And so I think it's kind of coming down to camera body. I feel like camera bodies have become the new film stocks. So where, you know, you could buy any digital camera and once you go in, you start editing the raw file, you can get a similar look. And so it comes down to glass, but more importantly for me, is the body. Is the body getting in my way? Is it moving me? Is it giving me that experience where, you know, I started before mirrorless cameras and now when I pick up a mirrorless camera, it feels like work, which is fine. They're tools. That's what they're made for. But when I pick them up, I'm not inspired to like go out and hit the road and go on a road trip and, you know, get zesty with it. But when it comes to a body like this, again, the unibody metal design, the menu systems are incredibly simplistic. It lets my inner photographer just be a photographer without all the congestion that comes with digital cameras. This camera is the opposite of that. This is truly the connection for a photographer to just enjoy photography with a beautiful body. Anyways, back to our tech specs. So anyways, I'm freezing. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was my first video on the X2D, but it's not the last. I have a lot of plans for this camera. Horses, cowboys, dirt bikes, a lot of things where people are like, oh, you can't use that camera and blah, blah, blah. Just watch me. That was a beautiful way to end the day. All right, let's go get my fat dog.